health experts have recommended that we lock down Tamworth for 1 week, starting from 5 o'clock today.
Tamworth joining Armidale and the Hunter region in lockdown after an infected woman travelled there from Newcastle visiting numerous venues.
The person who travelled to Tamworth at the time did not know she was infectious. Obviously, we're concerned about those exposure venues, so we need those high testing rates.
Late this afternoon, the Northern Rivers followed suit. 4 LGAs locking down after a man who travelled from Sydney last month was hospitalised in Byron Bay.
Unfortunately, this gentleman was infectious in the community for a while. He had symptoms for several days, so we are quite concerned.
That case too close for comfort for the Queensland Premier, who's threatening to bring in border checkpoints.
We already have those border controls in place at present, but if we have to go harder, we will.
The Victorian Premier again today calling for
a ring of steel around Sydney,
despite opting not to reintroduce a ring around Melbourne.
Sadly, there's simply no comparison between Melbourne and Sydney, and I've got a border to defend between Victoria and New South Wales. There's 50, 60 active cases versus 5,000, I think, in New South Wales. So that's where a ring of steel should be put on. That's my view.
But it's not the view of the New South Wales Premier, who, as recently as Friday, rejected the idea.
Unless you have literally a police officer outside every single household, a ring of steel does not prevent Delta from seeping out.
New South Wales hoping quick lockdowns will be enough to at least contain the COVID creep and spare regional communities the same fate as their Sydney neighbours.
Luke Tills is a publican in Newcastle where the cluster has grown to 23 cases today, and he joins us now. Luke, a lot of people in the regions are saying it was almost inevitable that the outbreak would leak out from Sydney. Why is that?
We've just had so many people from the regions that are in lockdown up here the whole time. I think a lot of people at the start try to get out of Sydney really quickly and go to holiday homes and whatnot. Delivery drivers that are sort of unnecessarily delivering things to every single venue in town from hotspots often. We've experienced ourselves, many people coming up trying to get into the venue that we've had to turn away. So, yeah.
So actually, what do you do in that situation? Like someone comes to you, they want to order a beer or whatever, and you find out from their licence or something that they're from Sydney. What happens next? What conversations do you have?
It causes a lot of really awkward confrontations. Some people do not take it well at all. Have a lot of aggressive sort of... I've had all the publicans and all the restaurateurs are talking to each other, and we're trading stories of often extremely aggressive sort of confrontations. No violence yet that I've heard of, but yeah, just that awkward, horrible, thing.
Well, Luke, Australians are not natural dobbers. We don't like dobbing people in, but are the locals up there getting to the point where they are talking to the local copper and saying, listen, these people are in town from out of town?
Yeah, they are. Not as a sense of, I mean, it's just you don't want to, it's a pain in the neck to call the police and tell them, because you just like, it happens so often, you'd be on the phone all the time. But, I heard a report of some people actually bragging about the fact they were from Sydney at the beach last week, and that was reported to the police, and, I'm not sure whether it was acted on, but yeah. What
sort of excuses have you heard? I guess everything, have you?
Oh, yeah, like holiday home, we're returning from holidays, we're delivering an essential service. I had a report of someone actually coming all the way from Sydney to pick up a breast pump and a baby capsule, stuff that you can easily find in Sydney and for quite a little amount of money, but they came up and got it anyway. So, yeah.
Luke, we just heard a New South Wales Premier say, unless you literally have a police officer outside every single household, a ring of steel does not prevent Delta from seeping out. What would you like to be to see done to protect the regions?
Higher penalties. I mean, I use the example of, like, in Indonesia, it's the death penalty if you get caught with like some weed or whatever, and that's because the chances of you getting caught is so low. So the penalty's a lot higher. I mean, so yes, if the penalty is a lot higher, say $20,000 rather than $1,000, there's going to be people self-policing. Like, I'm not saying that it's already hard enough for the police. Like, we deal with police constantly on a almost, weekly basis, and they're exhausted. Like, half the time they're getting their news off the 11 o'clock report, and then they're having to implement it. And they're doing a really good job, but they've been doing this for a year and a half, and they're exhausted. Like, expecting them to be able to police everyone is, it's not realistic. The Ring of Steel idea, I'm not sure how it would work. I like the idea of it. It sounds great if you're stopping traffic and going, don't grab that breast pump, mate. I'm sorry, you're not travelling to Newcastle.
Yeah, and if anyone's only half listening to you to speak, then Luke, you're not proposing the death penalty for anyone who goes to Newcastle, are you?
Oh, am I not? No, I'm joking.
Or anyone that smokes weed. Well, Luke, cheers to you and all the great work you're doing up there, and let's hope case numbers stay where they're at.
Thank you very much. See ya.
With so much content online, it's sometimes hard to keep up with it all. And let's face it, who has the time? The Project YouTube has you covered with the stories that matter. Hit subscribe for a daily list of the news that you need to know.